What's going on, Wanderers? It's your boy, Wanderlust Woman, back again for another video, and today I will be talking to you guys a little bit about Japan, the land of the rising sun. Now, believe it or not, Japan was the #1 highest sought after tourist destination in 2020. So, if all things would have went as planned, imagine that, guys. I had the luxury of previously studying and living in Japan for a semester, so I'm a little bit familiar with their customs and culture and all that stuff. So I think that I could provide a valuable little mini list, 3 tips, 3 don'ts for things to do in Japan. Now, the #1 thing, don't go to Japan without learning any Japanese. Now, this might sound, fairly straightforward, fairly obvious. Why would you go to any new country without having a way to communicate with the people there? Now, if you've researched a little bit into going to Japan, you probably tried to look into this topic yourself, and a lot of people will say that, oh, you don't need to learn any Japanese. Everything there is written in English. It's very easy to get around. A lot of people there might even speak English. So although the first 2 things are true, it is easy to get around, and a lot of things there are written in English, such as like restaurants, the subway lines, things like that. Learning a little bit of Japanese will really go a long way, because the people there do not really speak English at all. In fact, they are very resilient and not too excited to give it a try, even though they've studied it in high school a fair amount. You're gonna find it a bit difficult to communicate with people there in English. Another thing that this will do is it'll ease your anxiety, because your first day there, you're gonna be hungry, I assume. You're gonna have to check in at some hotel, or maybe an Airbnb. You're gonna have to take a train, and you might find yourself having to speak and communicate with a Japanese person. Now, given the fact that they don't really speak a whole lot of English, you might find it a little difficult to communicate with them, and you're definitely going to be jet lagged, which might make things a little bit more difficult than they normally would be anyways. You're going to see their anxiety of the Japanese person as you try and speak with them in English if they are not competent at all, and that anxiety might make you feel a little more anxious, and it might be a little bit of a traumatic experience. Not that bad, obviously. Not going to ruin your vacation or anything, but might not, make things off to the best start. So, learning a little bit, like please, thank you, hello, excuse me, that really go a far way. What do you have to lose, right? Now, another thing worth noting regarding this tip is if you try and speak to them in Japanese, whether it's like one word broken or obviously full sentences, they will be much more likely to try and communicate back with you in English, because they see that you're putting in the effort to communicate with them in a way that makes them feel comfortable, so they're more likely to reciprocate and return the favor to you. I've had many times where I've asked for something in Japanese, they've returned the sentence to me in English, whether it's one word, broken English, or a full sentence. And ultimately, it will really enhance your time there if you're able to communicate with the people there and have somewhat of a conversation, have some communication, and it will really spice up your interactions and make your experiences feel much more personable and unique. Now, #2, I don't see this talked about nearly enough. #2. Wear comfortable shoes when you travel to Japan. Now, I'm sure many of you were already planning or are planning on visiting Tokyo when you're in Japan. So you might think to yourself, well, duh, in a big city, you're going to be walking around, you don't want to have uncomfortable shoes. But Tokyo's on a whole other level, guys. The taxis here are ridiculously expensive, so I don't see you wanting to book a taxi unless absolutely necessary. Also, Uber hasn't really taken off there. Taxis are still kind of leading the transportation by car industry, so you're going to be stuck with their fares, and unless you want to, spend a lot of money when you don't have to, you're going to be walking around a lot from place to place. Now, their transport system, like their subway, their trains, buses, all that stuff is very reliable, it's very affordable, and it's very punctual. You're still going to want to walk around from place to place, or even between neighborhoods if they are adjacent to one another. Now, also, you're going to have the same problem in other cities in the countryside as well. You might find yourself walking a long distance from a train station, and you probably don't want to take a taxi as well. Depending on your itinerary and how ambitious you are, how many things you want to do, you can find yourself easily walking 6 miles a day. And also, a perk of walking around anyways is you're going to see lots of little everyday things, lots of restaurants that the locals probably eat at. You're going to see little neighborhoods, little side streets tucked away that you'll normally miss if you just go from spot to spot to spot. Now, number 3, this kind of relates to number 2 a little bit, is Do not be afraid of getting lost and not knowing where you're going, even at night. So besides having to ask for directions in a language that you might not be familiar with, you have no reason to be afraid of getting lost. You don't have to worry about having your GPS on. It is an extremely safe country. As far as big cities go, Tokyo by far guys, is the safest city in the world. I've went on countless walks late into the night, not knowing where I want to go, just trying to explore, see something else I haven't seen before, stumble upon a random little noodle shop or restaurant, bar, anything of that sorts. And this is really where you get to see the ins and outs of the country, the city, and it's where the magic happens, guys. So don't be afraid to get lost. The only exceptions to the rule that come to mind are two places in Tokyo. There's a place called Roppongi, which is a neighborhood. It's really popular for the nightlife. It's not really dangerous, but just be on alert. People will try and hustle you to come into their establishment. They might be trying to scam you, but just pay them no mind, but nothing dangerous will ever happen. Just be aware of that. And the other place this is going to happen is in Kabukicho in Shinjuku, which is the red light district. Same kind of thing. It's really popular with the nightlife, and people there will see that you're foreign. They'll think you're naive, and they'll try talking to you, trying to coerce you to come into their establishment. And just don't pay them any attention. You'll be fine, but nothing dangerous will happen to you. So that's it, guys. That's the 3 don'ts in Japan. Don't neglect learning any Japanese. Don't wear uncomfortable shoes, and don't be afraid to wander around and get lost. So that's the video, guys. I hope this was helpful. Subscribe if you want to see more content related to Japan and international travel. Please comment down below if you think my tips are on point. Is there anything else major that I'm forgetting? And let me know if you want to see more content like this in the comments. So thanks for watching, guys. Peace.